Okay, so let us now look at our open-ended question. Patrick sets up the experiment as shown using identical apparatus. Okay, so in the setup, you can see we have two electromagnets, right? We have electromagnet X, electromagnet Y. Okay, and in between, we have a steel nail. Okay, so part A asks, what is the aim of Patrick's experiment? Okay, so here, the concept that's being tested here is your knowledge and understanding of electromagnets. Okay, so electromagnets, what makes them stronger? Okay, so there are two ways, right, to increase the strength of an electromagnet. Okay, so number one is we increase the power supply. Okay, in this case, it would be increasing the number of batteries. Okay, the second way is to increase the number of wire coiled around the iron rod. Okay, so more coils around the iron rod, that will give us a stronger electromagnet. Okay, so what is the aim of Patrick's experiment? So we look at the setup and we can see that the difference between these two electromagnet setups is the number of wire, or rather the number of times the wire is coiled around the fixed rod, right? That's the difference. So this difference is the changed variable, okay? And what would happen when there's many coils, right? It will be a stronger magnet. Okay, so it will attract the steel nail. So his aim is actually to find out if the number of coils would affect the magnetic strength of the electromagnet, right? And in this case, how to determine the magnetic strength is the strong electromagnet will pull the steel nail towards it. Okay, so the aim, Patrick wanted to find out how the number of wire coils around a fixed iron rod affects the magnetic strength of the electromagnet. Okay, so that's for part A. Okay, now let's move on to our part B. When he closes the switches of both circuits at the same time, he observes that the steel nail moves towards one of the electromagnets. Which electromagnet, X or Y, does the steel nail move towards? Okay, explain your answer. Okay, so for this kind of question, where they ask you to make a choice, right, and then explain your answer, we have a very special technique in answering this question, okay, to ensure that we get all the marks in this question. Okay, the technique is A.B.C. Okay, so A represents answer with a choice, okay, in which you will choose between X or Y. Okay, next is back up with evidence. So why do we make the choice X or Y? We have to back up with evidence. What evidence tells us that this electromagnet is better than the other? Okay, and lastly is to confirm our concept. Okay, so let's look at answer with a choice. So do we choose electromagnet X or electromagnet Y? Okay, so we know electromagnets that have a higher number of wire coils would result in a stronger electromagnet. So in this case, we will choose electromagnet X. Okay, and where's our evidence? Well, X has more wire coils around the fixed iron rod, and so it will be a stronger electromagnet than Y. So what would happen if it's a stronger electromagnet? Okay, well, it will exert a stronger magnetic force of attraction, right? And because it exerts a stronger magnetic force of attraction, it will pull the steel nail towards the electromagnet X. Okay, so see how we break it down part by part. It makes answering this kind of question simple, doesn't it? So, did you manage to answer this question? Right, let's have a look at part C. Okay, Patrick wants to investigate if the material of the rod affects the strength of the electromagnet. State the changes he has to make to set up to investigate his new aim, right? So he wants to investigate if the material of the rod affects the strength. So that's the only thing he should change, right? The material of the rod. And everything else should be kept the same. So in this case, electromagnet Y has to increase the number of wires coiled around it, right? So that's the first change I would make. Okay, I increase the number of coils around the fixed iron rod for electromagnet Y, okay, until it is the same as electromagnet X. And then the second change would be, of course, to change the material of the rod, right? So we will replace the iron rod for electromagnet X with another rod made from a different material. Okay, so that's the two changes you want to make for this question. And we're done with the open-ended questions. Okay, so before we wrap it up, right, okay, let's recall some of the keywords that we went through today. Okay, so first one we have is magnets attract magnetic material. Okay, and the magnetic materials are steel, iron, nickel, and cobalt. Right? A simple way to remember is Superman is not cute. Okay, so S stands for steel, I stands for iron, N stands for nickel, and C stands for cobalt. Okay, do not get confused with copper. All right. So next we have electromagnets' strength are affected by two things. Okay, number one is the amount of power supply, right? In this case, would most likely be number of batteries. Okay, next we have the number of coils around a magnetic rod. Okay, so the rod has to be made of a magnetic material. Next, we have like poles of magnet repel. Okay, so north and north, they will push each other away. South and south will push each other away. Okay, and next we have unlike poles of magnet attract. Okay, so that's all we have today. I hope you've learned something and hope you've enjoyed yourself. Take care. Till next time. Bye bye.